Hello everyone, my name is Vijay and I am your English trainer. Today we will start with the topic voice. So students, the chapter voice is very important and in our general conversation, most of the sentences that we use are in passive voice. So we must understand what is passive voice. We must understand how to transform sentences from active to passive and how to speak or write the sentences in passive voice directly. So without making any delay, let us start. So as I told you, any sentence can be can be written in two ways. Any sentence can be written in two ways. The first one is sentences in active voice. For example, Ravi wrote a letter. And the second one is sentences in passive voice. Sentences in passive voice. For example, a letter was written by Ravi. So, what is the basic difference between these two sentences? Here in this sentence, Ravi is subject and a letter is object. And who is the doer of this task? The task is here writing. Here the task of writing is being done. Who is doing this task? This task is being done by Ravi. Ravi is doing this task. Ravi is the doer of this task. Clear? But what is happening in this sentence? A letter was written by Ravi. Here in the subject, you see a letter. Is a letter doing the task of writing? No. It is not doing the task. The task is being done by Ravi. Ravi is doing this task. But what is a letter here? A letter is the receiver of this section. Letter is not writing anything. Okay, it is Ravi who is writing. Letter is not writing. What is letter? Letter is receiving this action. The action of writing is being done with letter. So letter is what? Letter is receiver of this action written. So this is what happens in passive voice. In passive voice, subject is not doer, subject is receiver of the action. And why do we use passive voice? Passive voice is used when the doer of the action is not very important, or we want to emphasize on the verb rather than the subject. So what is happening here? A letter was written. The task has been done. We just want to tell the task has been done. Who did? It is not. But still, if we want to add, we can add at the end by Ravi. Is that clear? So these are the two ways how we can write sentences. So let us continue. Now, the second point is when to use. When to use. Okay, let us write it in proper way. When do we use? When do we use passive voice? When do we use passive voice? So the first use is when subject, not subject, I will say the doer. When doer of the work is not important, or you can say unknown. You can say unknown. When the doer of the work is not important, or you can say unknown. Like my bike was stolen last night. Here we want to state the incident. My bike was stolen. Who stolen? I don't know. And even it is not important to say, suppose we are going to lodge an FIR. So there we want to tell, we want to state the incident there. So we will say my bike was stolen last night, and we will put some other details when we are asked. Okay, so incidents can be stated in passive voice easily. Now, the second point is when we want to emphasize on work rather than doer. Okay, when the work is important, not the doer. Who does the work? That is not important. Important is what? If the work has been done or not. Suppose you are assigned something to do, and next day I come and I ask you, is the work done? I can say, have you done the work? But on the other hand, I can also say, is the work done? In that case, we use passive voice, like the work has been done. You can also say by someone or anything else. So here the work is important. See, remember the incident when you go home and ask what is cooked today. Means who cooked it is not important, but what is cooked it is important. Why? You just want to know the, you can say, taste of something. You want to feel the taste, or you want to decide whether to eat right now or after some time. So sometimes it happens with you. So you just put a question whether the food has been cooked or not. You don't say who cooked the food. It is not important for you. As you are hungry, you just need food. Who cooked food is not important. You want to know whether the cooked has been cooked, sorry, whether the food has been cooked or not. Is the point clear? So there are many incidents in our life where the doer of the task is not important. Doer of the work is not important. There, what is important? Important is what? Yes, the work. Okay, if the work has been done or not. So let us continue now. So there are some more uses of passive voice. You know, in formal writing or newspapers and any other places where we use formal English, there mostly we use passive voice. Passive voice is very common at different places. Okay, so now we move. So let us understand the structure of passive voice. What is the structure? See, in active voice, we have already studied. We use verb after the subject. Means we use these three combination. While going through the tenses, we have studied this: subject, verb, and object. Okay, this is the basic structure of any sentence: subject, verb, and object. Okay, and in the tenses, we have learned the uses of these three things, how we can uh, use these three things in a structure. Now what about passive voice? In passive voice we put the object in the subject, we put the object in place of subject, we put this here, but here we can write subject only. Okay, so it will not be said as object, it will be said to be subject. Okay, so whatever you write here, according to tense, whatever you write here in the beginning of the sentence, that is your subject, not object. Okay. Now we have some examples like the teacher praised the student. Here, the teacher is doing this action of praising. Okay, to this. Now, in the second example, the student is not praising. Students are being praised. Means they are the receivers of the action. They are receivers of the action. They are not doer. Okay, who is the doer? Doer is the teacher. Okay. So both the sentences have the same meaning, but Here in the second sentences, uh, sorry, but here in the second sentence, the students are being focused. Okay, not the teacher. Who praised, it is not important, but we are talking about students. So students are being praised in the second sentence. Okay, now let us go through some points which is very important to understand before we start understanding structure of sentences. Now, see, we must know the three forms of be. Be has three forms as other verbs have. So the first form is be and is are am. The second form is was or were, and the third form is be. So in second form, yes, it is very clear. We use was or were. We know with singular we use was, and with plural subject we use were. And the third form is very clear. It is be. But in case of first form, what is happening here? You can see sometimes we use be and sometimes we use is rm. We do not always use is rm. Sometimes we use be. I can give you some examples like you can be the next. You can be the next winner. Here you can see I used be, not is. Okay, but in case he is the winner. In this sentence, we see we are using is. And both the sentences we have same meaning. होना, होना किसी चीज का होना, like वह बीमार है, he is ill, he is winner. ओके, वह विनर है. और यहां पर यू कैन बी द नेक्स्ट विनर, आप अगले विनर हो सकते हैं. यहाँ पे इसकी मीनिंग सेम है. द वर्ड बी हैज द सेम मीनिंग इन बोथ द केसेस, but here we are using be, here we are using is. So how this is happening, when to use be, when to use is rm, it must be very clear to you. So we must know this with clarity. Most of you know the uses of is rm, the uses of be, but still without any clarity. So let me state a simple point. After this, you will be able to understand when to use is rm and when to use be form of verb. So see, when we use the verb be directly after the subject, we use is rm, not be. We cannot directly use be. Like we do not say we, he, be, and s or es, is. We don't write like this. This is not the way. We can say he is in place of be and s or es. Also, if we write we are, not we be. So this one is here incorrect. Why? We are using the form of be directly after the subject. So when we use directly, we use this method. Okay, this method. Like we are teachers and we be teachers. This is incorrect. But when we already use some helping verb, some modal verb, we use be. Like we can be teachers. We do not use is rm here. Why? We already have used some modal verb. So when you use be after some modal verbs, we use be. But when you use the form of be directly after the subject, we use is rm. Is that clear? That must be very clear, I hope. Okay. So this is very important to understand before we start passive voice. Now let us go through some examples. Okay. She writes a letter. Suppose we want to convert this into passive voice. So what is the basic rule behind the conversion? So first of all, we must understand the basic rule. Let me explain the basic rule here. The first rule is object of active voice becomes the subject of passive voice. You will find a suitable subject from the active voice to be put in the place of subject in passive voice. Why? Because here we do not want doer in the subject. We want the receivers of the action in the subject. So that is why we will choose some proper object which can be used as the subject. Okay, so you can choose the object according to the you can say focus on which object you want to focus. So according to focus, you will choose the object from the active voice and put it in the place of subject of passive voice. Now, one more important part. See, if you forget this, you will not be able to transform from active to passive easily. Tense of sentence must not change. This is very important. Remember, sometimes you try to change the tense of the sentences, but tense of sentence must not change. That will remain same as before. Okay. So what will happen? What will be the basic difference? The basic difference will be the third one. In place of main verb, you will use the proper form of be. And as I told you, the proper form of be is are, am, was, were, been. Okay, these are the proper form. And when you use ing after be, that becomes being. Okay, so these are the forms of, you can say different forms of be. So remember these forms. As in tenses, you use different forms of verb. And in place of main verb, you are going to use the form of be. Okay, you are going to replace the main verb with be, but in the same tense. You are not going to change. You are not expected to change the tense of the sentence. Clear? So, what happens with the main verb? When you use be as the main verb in the sentence, what happens with the old main verb? Okay, so we just put the main verb in the third form and we put it just after the form of be. When we use be as the main verb, just after this verb, we use third form of the main. Okay, I mean, which was previously the main verb. Subject of voice becomes agent introduced by be. Means whatever was there in the subject of active voice, we will put it in the object and we will introduce it by using by before the subject. Before you can say the old subject. Now that is not going to be subject, as we will put it in place of object. But we will introduce it using by before it. Clear? So using this rule, if you understand this rule well, you don't have to memorize this. If you understand this rule well, simply you can make passive voice. You can transform a sentence from active voice to passive voice. And this is very easy. Just believe me, this is very easy. After doing 2 or 4 sentences, you will understand this well. Let me explain. But remember one thing, the prerequisite to this topic is the tenses. You must know tenses well. I am considering that you have completed the tenses and you are well aware with the tenses, and you can say translation part of the tenses. Okay. So now moving to example. Here we will understand the basic rule. Can you say which tense this sentence belong to? This sentence belongs to present indefinite tense. And what is the rule? See, the rule is very clear. The subject, first form of verb, S or ES, then object. Okay, this is very clear. So, how to transform this into passive voice? The rule, we will pay attention to the rule now. The first rule was we will choose a suitable object. So, what is the object here? Here, there is only single object, that is a letter. So, we will put a letter in the subject. Clear? Now, see, the rule is subject, then first form of verb, and maybe S or ES with the verb. Now, object. This is the rule. Now, we will follow the same rule. As I told you, we are not going to change the tense of the sentences. Then how can we do the sentence? How can we can transform this sentence? See, the subject is written here. The subject is very clear. Now, we are moving to verb, first form of verb, but we will use be as the main verb. As I told you, we will use be as the main verb in this sentence. And what is the first form of B? Is RM or B itself? Is RM. What are we going to use? Is RM or B? We will use B in place of main verb. What are we going to use? You have options is R, M or B itself, as we want to use first form. Okay, so first form of B is RM or B. So which one to use? As I told you, if you use the form of B directly after the subject, we use is RM, not B. Okay, so B will not be used here. Now we use is RM according to the number of the subject. What is the number here? The number is singular, and with singular subject we use is. So the correct option is here. Clear? The correct option is. So these two options will be cancelled out. So a letter is. Now what happens with the main verb? See, previously the main verb was right, and I told you what will we do with the main verb. See, the main verb changes into past participle form, and we put it just after using be. So the third form of write is written, and written will be written. Okay, and the verb written will be written after using be. So here a letter is written. So what's left? She, we can say by. We will introduce she using by before that word. Okay, clear? So this is basic rule how we can transform from active to passive. Let us take some more examples. She is writing a letter. What is the rule here? Rule is very clear. You can simply identify the rule by, you can say, observing the sentence. So in the beginning we write subject, then is, are or am, then first form of verb, then ing, and finally object. This is the rule. Now, if we want to transform it into passive voice, what will we do? We'll put subject in the beginnings. The tense will not change, as I told you. Tense will not change. Tense is not going to change here. Remember. So, but we will put object in place of subject. Okay, a later. A later in the beginning of the subject. A later. Clear? Now, is RM again. What do we use with singular subject? Is, are or am? We use is. So the rule is same. Subject is RM, subject is RM. Clear? Now first form of verb. So what are we going to use in place of main verb? As I told you, in place of main verb, we will use be. So first form of verb, then ing. Be and ing. Why are we going to use be here? Again, as you know, already there are some helping verb. See, the helping verb is, are or am. One of these three is going to be used here. So therefore, we will not write is, are or am again. We will use be. Okay. We are not using this directly after the subject, but we have already used some helping verb. A letter is being written. Why written here? As I told you, the main verb is right, and we will use it in third form just after using be. So written. Now, what's left? She, by, her. And this is very simple. Let us go through this example. Again, the subject. See, the rule is subject plus has or have, then third form of verb, and then object. Okay. So now, without changing the tense, we will transform this into passive voice. First of all, object in the subject, a letter, has or have. A letter is singular, so we will use has. Then third form of verb, but we will be here in place of the main verb. Be, and third form be is been. Okay, the third form be is been, and then the main verb will be written in the third form just after this. So right is already in third form, so we will just copy. Okay, written. Now what's left? Nothing but she, by her. Clear? A letter has been written by her. I hope the sentence is very clear. Now one more example. She wrote a letter. She wrote a letter. what is the rule? First of all, we will go through the rule. Subject plus second form of verb, then object. Clear? In passive voice, we will use the same rule, but replacing the main verb by be. So, what is subject? A letter. A letter. Now, second form. And what is second form of be? The second of be is was or were. A letter is singular. We will use was. A letter was. And what with the main verb? The main verb will be written in third form just after using be. So, written. Okay, a letter was written by her. A letter was written by her. Okay, I hope the passive voice is very clear, and you know how to transform from active to passive voice. Let us go through some more examples. She was writing a letter. Here again, now we will not write the rule. We will just observe the rule and transform the sentence into passive voice. Okay, now we are moving to the next level. So a letter, that is subject now. Okay, a letter. And what is the rule? So after subject, we are using was or maybe were if the subject is plural. But a letter is also singular, so was. Everything is same. But in place of write, we use be. We use be as the main verb, but in ing form, as the verb write is in ing form. So being. And what with write? Write will be written in third form just after using be. So written. Written by her. Clear? A letter was being written by. I hope the point is very clear. Now moving to the next example. She had written a letter. A letter had third form of be. We will use be in place of this. The letter had been. Okay. Now what will we do with this verb? This verb will be written just after be, but in the third form, and this verb is already in third form. So we will write written. Clear? We will write written. Then by her. I hope the concept is very clear. Okay. So students, that's all for today. We will see you in the next class. I hope the point is very clear, and I expect you to practice the topic at home. So practice this topic well. You will find that the task is very easy. You can simply transform from active voice to passive voice. You just need to keep a very important point in mind that we are putting object in place of subject and using be as the main verb, and we are using the old main verb in the third form just after the word be. They are the 3 points that you need to keep in mind. If you understand this point, it will be very easy for you. Without any rule, without any complexity, you can simply transform any sentence, if they are in active voice, into passive voice. Okay, so see you in the next class, everyone.